And so with my month road trip, I learned so much about myself. A new series alert! Woo, 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 woo. I'm so excited.
Where is Neva? Where is Neva? Where is Neva? Where is she? Where is she? Where is she?
Hello, family. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Where is Neva? Hi, family. I hope you are doing well. I hope you're taking care of your hearts, your family, yourself. Yo, what a beautiful month it is. I'm sending you guys so much love, happiness, reassurance, and positivity always. So, this new series is all about my road trip. Y'all, I took a solo road trip before I did any international solo trips or even traveled back to Africa. I went to Africa once with my study abroad trip, but a little bit after that, I took a road trip to Maryland. And then I took a road trip back from Maryland to Seattle. So I'm about to tell you all about it. But yes, this is the road trip series about the beginning. So we're flashing black, okay? We're going back into time. No, baby, no, baby, no, baby. Don't leave me. If you know that song, let me know because that is a hit. Anyways, family. So this episode is called Why I Even Took My Road Trip. Why did I take a solo road trip? But like I said, we got to go back in time. So back in November of 2016, I decided to pack up my car and drive to Maryland because I had this goal and dream to go to law school and become a civil rights attorney. I packed up my car, I picked up my best friend in Portland, and we drove the northern route from Seattle, Washington. I stopped in Portland and then northern route to Washington, D.C. And it took us maybe 5 days. She driving! We stayed in a couple places, like we stayed in North Dakota, we stayed in Chicago, and we also had to stay in Montana, not by choice, but we stayed in Montana because my tire popped. And I was driving a car that was sitting on 22s. So if you don't know, those are some big ass wheels. And so we were in this car that drives 22s. It was my father's car. And so when we drove, the tire popped. We were stuck on the side of the freeway. Someone came and helped us. We got off the freeway and went to the tire place. And it took them 2 days to get a new tire. So that pushed us back in time because we were trying to go through Montana and make it in North Dakota. But we had to stay 2 days in Montana because of my tires. And we had to wait. And Montana is a red state. So we were very uncomfortable, especially because around November 2016, Trump just won presidency. And so being two Black women in a red state, it was very uncomfortable. I remember a conversation when we were sitting in the tire spot. They were talking about Hillary Clinton and how they're glad that she didn't win because she deserved to be in the kitchen cleaning. And so we were super uncomfortable because we are women as well as being Black women. We're like, wow, they're saying this right in front of their customers. So we got those tires and just left. We didn't even have a place to stay in Montana. We actually slept in the car one night, and then the second night we ended up getting a motel just to kill some time and save some dollars. So after we had our staycation in Montana that we didn't want to stay, we ended up driving to DC.
Yes.
And the rest of the trip was amazing. We stayed in North Dakota for a day, and we stayed in Chicago with some of my family out there for a day, and then we made it to DC safely.
throat. I'm the Don Dada. All my hipster bitches call me Big Papa. Shout out Zeus, that's my top shot. Sell out every show cause I'm a showstopper. I'm the big youngin' to these little OGs. I should stuff a nigga.
When I made it to DC, y'all won't believe this. The apartment I was supposed to move into called me and said my apartment wouldn't be ready. So we didn't have anywhere to stay when we made it there. So we had to get a hotel and sleep there. But the next day I was like, money is tight. We can't stay in another hotel. So what am I going to do? And I need an apartment. Because where am I going to stay when you leave? Because she already bought her flight to go back to Portland. And so I went apartment shopping. I canceled the apartment I was supposed to stay in. And I went in apartment shopping. And I found this amazing apartment that I fell in love with. Signed the paperwork that day and moved in that day. It was amazing. And I stayed in that apartment for 2 years. I loved it. It was downtown Silver Spring. If you all know where DMV is, it's downtown Silver Spring, Maryland. And it's right close to DC. You just take the train, the red line, and you can make it to DC. And it was just a beautiful time. Like, I was right by the train tracks. I was right by some restaurants, bars. It was just a beautiful stay. And I had such a great time when I lived there. But life still was happening. I just lost my dad a year before that, and I didn't sit with the grief of that. And so I was experiencing a lot of grief, and I was drinking more. I was doing things that I now can look back and say, I'm glad I experienced it, but it was time to move forward. And so going through that, I hit this really dark stage of depression. It was really deep. It was so bad that I didn't feel like I had anybody to talk to while I was out there. And it was a really dark time. I was juggling a few jobs. I was working as a server. I loved working as a server, but serving is a hard job. So make sure you all tip your servers in places that allow tips. Make sure you do that. But I served, I worked as a legal assistant, and when I worked as a legal assistant, I realized, like, I don't think the law field is for me. I seen very depressed lawyers every day, and I was just like, I don't want to go to work being depressed. That is not life. I don't want to live like this. And so I had one job as a legal assistant, and I loved it a little bit. It was okay. And then I found another job as a legal assistant. And actually, they found me, and they were paying more. And so I was like, yes, I'm going to go there. I'm going to save up some money, and then I'm going to travel. So I went to this job. They asked, like, they were paying me more than what I was getting paid. I quit my serving job, and I hated it. Every day I went into work, I was so depressed. I was so sad. And the times that I had free, I would actually look at plane tickets because I was so sad. They weren't training me the way I needed to learn. And so they would get mad at me and tell me I was learning too slow. And I was like, but I'm not understanding because I don't know Photoshop. I don't know any of this stuff. Like, I told you this when I got hired. Now you're mad at me because I told you this when I got hired? Like, you shouldn't be mad at me. Instead, you should find ways to educate me in this. They didn't like that. And so after a couple months in that job, I went back home to visit Seattle because it was my little sister's 16th birthday. So I went back home to celebrate her, and then I came back to go to work. And this day, I remember this day like it was yesterday. I was bright up early in the morning, went to go get some donuts, dropped my friend off at work, and I was excited to go into work because I was like, yeah, I get to see everybody. I haven't seen them for about a week. And so I went to go bring these donuts, and I sat in my office for a little while. Then I went to go talk to the other legal assistant, and she was talking to me because she just went on a trip, and she went back. It was an international trip. I can't think of the place. And so I was very excited because I love traveling. So I was like, ooh, sis, tell me all your stories. And so she was telling me all these stories and she was showing me pictures. And while I was looking in her phone, a text came in from the other legal assistant, the head legal assistant, talking about me. And what the message said was, watch out for Geneva. She's getting fired today. I'm not sure how she's going to react. Imagine this. I'm sitting there looking at the phone and the message comes through. And I'm just like, yo. So I looked at the woman that I was talking to about her travels and I was like, hey, did you know I was getting fired today? And she was like, no, what you talking about? What you do? I said, I didn't do anything. I just got back to work today. I've been on a trip for a week. And she was like, wow, I don't know. Like, you should go talk to her. And so I went to go talk to her because I'm like, I'm not about to stay here until the rest of the day and then get fired. If I already know I'm getting fired, I might as well leave. And so I went to go talk to the woman, and the woman is a Black older woman. And when I first got the job, she was just like, sis, I got you. You remind me of my child. Like, I got you. But then doing some grimy stuff like that was wild to me. Because I'm like, sis, I thought we was family. But all skin folk ain't kin folk. Whew. Anyways, I went up to her and I just was like, hey, I seen the message that you sent the other legal assistant, and I'm not going to stay here to get fired. That doesn't make sense to me. And so she was like, well, go talk to the owner. And she looked kind of like, wow, you found out? I was like, yes, I found out. So I went to go talk to the owner and I knocked on the door and I was like, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? He was like, yeah, come in. It was like this older white man. He was like, yeah, come in. I was like, okay. And this is a small legal firm. So everybody knew everybody. And I come in, I sit down and I said, hey, I just want to let you know, I found out that I'm getting fired today. And I don't think there's a purpose of me staying longer just to get fired. And he looked super shocked. He was like, wait, how'd you know? Like, who told you? And I told him the story. I said, this legal assistant texts this legal assistant and I seen the message. And he was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I was like, there's nothing to be sorry. Like, I'm getting fired. So, like, I'm glad I found out now than me staying all day and doing work for you all to then be fired. Like, might as well let me go. You could have let me go when I was at work. I mean, you could have let me go when I was at home. Why you let me go when I traveled back? I could have been crying at the house. You let me get all the way back home to get fired. Anyways, he was like, okay, yeah, we have to let you go. Da da blah, 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 blah. It just doesn't seem like a great fit. I was like, cool, that's fine. So I ended up leaving. I left the donuts. I was a little sad, but I said bye to all the lawyers that I actually liked. I actually said bye to everybody for the most part. And then I left. And then I went into my car and then I started crying because I was like, I don't want to go back to serving. I don't know what I'm about to do. And I called my mom and she was like, yeah, I understand. I was like, my lease is about to be up. My plan was to save money from this job, quit this job, and then be able to travel. But I didn't save any money. I don't even know how I'm going to pay rent. And she was like, we're going to figure it out. You're good. I was like, okay. I was like, I have this much saved. I think it will cover for the rest of the rent. So I went back to my apartment and I was really, really sad. I then decided that I'm just going to drive back home because I didn't want to ship my car and I needed some clarity on what I needed to do next. And I decided that. And my mother was like, no, just come back home. We'll ship your car. You're good. I was like, no, mother, I am driving back home by myself and I'll be okay. I'll be okay. And she was like, all right. Like, she had nothing. She couldn't say anything else because I made my decision. So I started with the process of selling things to make more money, packing up stuff to other stuff that I'm going to bring, and just transitioning to a move that I decided to make. It was a lot. It was a lot. And in that transition, I traveled to New York because I told myself I wanted to go. So I took a bus trip to New York by myself. It was spectacular. And then I was taking care of me Even in my depression, I took the time to take care of me. So I packed up my stuff. It was time to leave. I ended up saying deuces to Maryland, deuces DC, deuces to my friends out here. It's time to go home. And I drove home. I made this trip a solo month road trip. And I made it a month so that I can take the time to actually get to know me, to get to know what I want, get to know my future steps, and understand what is my next step. What does Geneva want? What does Geneva want out of life? What is her purpose? Before, there wasn't really any coaches like that. They weren't talking about getting a coach to help you find your purpose, getting this. So I didn't know who to talk to figure out what it is that I wanted. All I knew was my life was changing. The things that I thought I wanted, not happening. And the plans I put in place were released. And I was just like, yo, my plan was to go to Howard Law School. That was my plan since damn near middle school. Now, I don't even want to go to law school. Now, what the hell is next? And so with my month road trip, it made me fall in love with road trips because of the clarity. I was in nature. I was down there talking to myself, talking to my intuition, talking to God, like talking to my ancestors. I was just talking. I would be on my camera, videotaping, talking to the camera. I was releasing hella Instagram stories, which birthed my YouTube channel because people was like, Geneva, I love your stories. Like, put this on YouTube. More people need to see this. You took us through this whole journey. Like, allow more people to see this. This was incredible. I had so many different comments of people like, oh my gosh, I'm riding this way with you. I'm learning. People crying with me. I was crying on my road trip. Yo, I'm so excited to release this content. We are going to be starting in Atlanta, and then we're going to be moving forward to all the states that I stopped in. And will be weekly content. And then I'll be wrapping up this series to talk about safety tips, to talk about my dating experience while I was traveling. Yes, I was dating while I was traveling. And just different things to help you on your journey when you decide to take that solo road trip wherever you are. Solo road trips are incredible. I highly recommend them because it is budget friendly depending on where you're going and how much you're spending, where you're staying. There's always ways to make it even more budget friendly. There's different apps you can invest in, like couch surfing and just Airbnbs, hotels, motels, hostels. There's just different things that you, like I said, to make it budget friendly. So, and you don't even have to go far. You don't have to make it a month road trip. You can make it a day road trip. You can go down the street and make it a road trip and just sit in some nature. Road trips changed my life. It made me who I am today. It made me prepared to create content like this. So I'm so excited for you to dive into this journey with me and learn more about who I was before I started traveling to Africa, from west to east to London, Amsterdam, and all those beautiful places. I want y'all to know the beginning. So we're going to flash back to where is Neva when she took that road trip. Welcome to the road trip series. Family, I love you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in and stopping by. If I do not know you and this is your first time, please make sure you subscribe, push that notification bell, share some love, share it to a partner, share it to your friends. We are building our family. Check out whereisneva.com, where we are uniting the diaspora globally. Yo, Black people, we are family. All, like I said earlier, all skin folk and kin folk, we all can do this healing work. I love you, family. Take care of yourself. Make sure you're always checking in. I love you. Bye.
Where is Neva? Where is Neva?